Hello and welcome to the Evening News for today, Tuesday, July 29, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, William Gregory Smith's personal files missing. Basil Williams says PNCR is not GCOM in wake of chaotic elections. Skeletal remains show evidence of stab wounds. Police probing Congress Place shooting. Bartitians accuse regional authorities of failing to address critical issues. Now for the news in detail. The Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry opened its fourth session today with officers of the Guyana Defence Force presenting records from their internal investigations. In this report, we'll hear that the personal files of murder accused William Gregory Smith could not be located. Let's find out more from Alexis Rodney.
Lieutenant Colonel Patrick West, representing the Guyana Defence Force today at the Commission of Inquiry, told the tribunal investigating the death of Dr. Walter Rodney that the personal file of the accused murderer, William Gregory Smith, could not be found. The Guyana Defence Force has been tasked with locating files which could determine whether the now-dead Smith had been in its employ. Lieutenant Colonel West told the Commission that while he did not find a Gregory Smith, records indicate that there was a William Smith in the Army during that period.
On every personal file, there would be photographs.
But assuming that you didn't find a personnel file which will carry the photographs of the chap that we are referring to, they were everywhere in the public media. Did you use that to inquire of senior personnel in his time whether he was a member of the Guyana Defence Force?
Let me say that my primary
The point that I'm making is this: you may not find any records for reasons at this point which may or may not be terribly clear. But there may be people around who said, look, I was his boss in the Army. That chap was in the Army for, as I remember, 15, 20 years. I was his boss. And that would be acceptable evidence. 2 or 3 people would tell, oh yeah, he was in the Army with me. I knew him well. So the fact that you have no record does not mean that you may not have evidence that he was a member of the force.
The now-dead Army Sergeant William Gregory Smith had been accused of causing the death of Dr. Walter Rodney on June 13, 1980. But the head of the Army at that time, Major General Norman McLean, told the tribunal during his testimony that while there was a William Gregory Smith, he had become a deserter. However, the Army Colonel said that the investigation carried out by staff at the Army's Personnel Department showed that there was no record of the sergeant ever being struck off strength, absent without leave, deserting the party, or ever being dismissed. Commissioners and legal representatives pressed the Army officials for clues surrounding the disappearance of Smith's personal file, while the other records are still in place.
In the scheme of things in the GDF, when a file is deliberately destroyed, normally it will produce, that would be recorded, or when any record is deliberately destroyed, there's a note also made and a certificate, I believe, produced.
For general correspondence, requests promotions, increases of pay, secret documents, there are provisions for the handling of those correspondence. Normal restricted correspondence, those things are pruned probably once a year. A record of the documents are listed, sanctioned and sent to the intelligence unit, and then approval is granted for it to be destroyed.
West, questioned by Commission's counsel Glenn Hanneman on Army protocols, was asked if it was a normal practice for officers working undercover to sport an afro and beard. He responded in the affirmative. Former Army Corporal Robert Gates had told the Commission that when he saw Smith a few months before the incident, he had an afro and was heavily bearded. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
Re-elected chairman of the People's National Congress, Basil Williams, says that there is no way a political party can operate like the Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, as he responded to the call made by executive member Carl Greenidge for the resignation of the party's General Secretary, Oscar Clark. Here again is Alexis Rodney.
People's National Congress Reform Chairman Basil Williams said the Central Executive Committee had implemented the requisite systems to meet the needs of members during the just concluded biennial Congress, particularly those of Linden Region 10.
As the process was that you were going to call the names of people according to regions, and they would enter the auditorium. And I think they had just announced that they would start with Regions 1 and go up, and then that occurred. But we had a very good and orderly Congress. No chaos occurred within the precincts of Congress Place. Nothing within the gathering inside the hall of Congress Place. And so we don't know what this chaos that they're talking about.
He noted that had the party followed the protocol, delegates of Linden may not have been able to participate at the event.
They put in the level of organizing a party election, the requirements of GCOM, they place in on a party to hold, there must be problem. If we had decided to stick to timelines, the Linden was going to even come in the first place. A lot they list was submitted after the time. But you try to work, it's the culture of the party, not to stand in timelines. You try to work with all complaints and try to resolve them. And most of the times that crystallizes on the day of the election.
PNCR member Carl Greenidge had publicly called for a new General Secretary to replace Oscar Clark. Greenidge placed the blame at the feet of Clark as he alluded to the challenges faced by Region 10 members in their quest to be accredited for the elections. The former finance minister under the PNC government had also challenged David Granger during the 2011 elections. Williams reminded that Greenidge received an extraordinary defeat from the party's leader, receiving fewer than 50 votes, while Granger grabbed over 500. PNC supporters in Linden on Sunday challenged the integrity of the list of delegates eligible to vote during the party's 18th biennial Congress, which began on Friday. For the Evening News, I'm Alexis Rodney.
In this report, we'll hear that a skeletal remains found at Patenson, Greater Georgetown last week revealed that an unidentified woman was stabbed to death. Details in this report.
4 days after the gruesome discovery of the unidentified woman, a second autopsy was conducted by state pathologist Dr. Nihal Singh on Monday, which gave the cause of death as incised wounds to the abdomen. Dr. Singh had initially conducted a post-mortem examination on Friday at the scene where the decomposed body was found. He had declared the cause of death as inconclusive at the time, but his second examination revealed that the woman was stabbed to death. The police are continuing their investigations to identify the remains. However, there are reasons to believe that the body might be that of the missing St. Stanislaus teacher Nayosi Goodman, who went missing some 3 weeks ago. Hair and blood samples were taken from relatives of the missing woman and would be sent overseas for DNA testing. Meanwhile, relatives have expressed their dissatisfaction of the way police are handling the case. They claim they are not being informed as the investigations unfold. So far, 2 persons were taken into custody for questioning but were later released. The skeletal remains were found on Thursday evening at about 18:45 hours by a passerby who stumbled upon the body. 36-year-old Goodman was last seen at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall, Homestretch Avenue, where she had accompanied her school's basketball team to the National Schools Basketball Championships. She reportedly told her students that she was waiting to be picked up. For the Evening News, Jalicia Pinder.
39-year-old Raymond Ali, called Dado of Lot 478, Block 8, Monrepo, was found dead a short distance away from the shack he was living in. According to a relative, the man was suffering from a severe case of tuberculosis but told persons that he had leukemia. Ali was recently hospitalized and was only discharged last Wednesday. Nurses reportedly informed his father that he would not survive for long. The 39-year-old was last seen alive by the door of his makeshift home at around 9 hours on Monday, but was later discovered dead in his yard. More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. The recent events that have unfolded within the People's National Congress for Reform have created a vivid picture of the major division that exists within the party, but Region 10 said it stands willing to bury the hatchet. However, the party's constitution must be upheld. Details from Svetlana Marshall.
Region 10 Chairman Sharma Solomon said PNCR's 18th Biannual Congress has left a bitter taste in the mouths of members, primarily in his district, but said supporters should not live in the past.
The PNC, like any political party or mass-based organization, have had its share of glitches in previous elections, but never of such magnitude, never with such unresolved grievances and such chaotic outcomes where the integrity of the entire process can be questioned or where almost the entire regional delegation list was disenfranchised.
According to him, the clear disregard of the party's constitution during the just concluded Congress had resulted in him being denied the opportunity to be accredited as a delegate. He is now calling for the General Secretary, Oscar Clark, to be held accountable.
Those who have accepted responsibility for matters must be held responsible for the activities that they have asked to be responsible for. And Mr. Clark is the chairman of the accreditation committee, and he's also the general secretary of the party. And he was responsible to ensure that we had an election that people were satisfied with. I can say to you, an entire region is not satisfied.
Nevertheless, he said Region 10, a district dominated by PNCR supporters, is stretching out its hands of cooperation to resolve the burning internal issues that have been placed on the table for the past 2 years, but exploded with the suspension of Member of Parliament Vanessa Kisun.
Region 10 remains committed in leading this charge and this effort to unify our party to achieve the goals that are necessary for our development and for the development of other regions and the people of Guyana. We are prepared to work to ensure the democratic structure which our party can proudly boast of is strengthened. As it is, we consider the fact of our members' willingness to speak out on issues, though not fully attained, a positive for our party.
Though shaken by the recent chaos at the 18th Biannual Congress, he said the party will grow from its experiences. He made it clear that there is a great belief in the foundation in which the party was built. Hence, there will be no acts to jeopardize the internal structure of the party. During the 2006 general elections, some 6,000 Londoners voted for the PNCR, but in 2011, the number of voters jumped to 13,000 due to a strong and aggressive campaign. Solomon has vowed to foster growth within the party, but maintained that the party's constitution must be upheld. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Police Force is now investigating the gunshot that was fired at Congress Place during the People's National Congress Reform's chaotic elections that returned David Granger to the helm. The details in this report.
Police Crime Chief Leslie James says that investigations into the shooting have commenced, but no one has been arrested. According to reports, an official police complaint was filed at the Alberton police station by a woman who said she was at Congress Place when a single shot was fired. PNCR Chairman Basil Williams said that the shot was fired after there was a stampede at one of the polling stations.
We understood that there was a situation where a position was stormed, and there was a report of the firearm going on. As the leader said, we were investigating that. But we wanted, as far as we know at this present time, that the person involved is not in any way connected with the administration of the People's National Congress Reform. The person, I think, was a member of the returning officers team. But it's something that we will continue to investigate.
The Evening News understands that the man was a member of the returning officers team and was a licensed firearm holder. Region 10 Regional Chairman Sharma Solomon has said that the gun should have never been fired in Congress Place. Solomon said other methods should have been used to quell the crowd.
The gunman who recklessly discharged this firearm in Congress Place must be held accountable for recklessly endangering the lives of all who were around and for the reckless use of his firearm, even if he is a licensed firearm holder. Region 10 calls on the party leadership and Mr. Granger and all party members to condemn this wanton disregard for the lives and safety of party comrades and immediate sanctions on this gun-toting menace. We must not shelter or protect by friends or contacts in high places.
Reporting for the Evening News, Jomo Paul.
The University of Ghana Student Society has broken its silence in the administration's decision to hike tuition fees as it signals its support, but said students should benefit from a higher quality of education.
The University of Guyana's Student Society acting president, Joshua Griffith, said that the increase in the tuition fees is a done deal, but said that the entire student body must commit itself to holding the Vice-Chancellor, Dr. Jacob Obade, accountable. According to him, past students have had to pursue their studies in unpleasant conditions, and the time has come for this to change if the current generation of students is to excel at the institution. However, the acting president related that while the students' body has extended its support to the administration for the new changes, there are several misgivings, and the society intends to have these addressed as soon as possible. According to Griffith, the society will be using alternative systems to facilitate discussions with the administration, including one where the student representation will go beyond the UGSS executive and will include 2 student representatives of each faculty and 2 representatives from the teen campus. It was also explained that the proposed agenda for the meeting will be fashioned by the student delegation after the selection has been completed. The availability of student loans, student fees, and funding for UGSS are among the issues which will be placed at the top of the agenda when the parties meet. Reporting for the Evening News, Gomati Gagaden.
One news ahead, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. Residents of Bartica Region 7 say regional authorities are pursuing their personal and political agendas, even as infrastructural development and social services crumble within the community. Here is Svetlana Marshall with the details.
Despite making a valuable contribution to Ghana's gross domestic product, residents of Bartica believe that they are being left behind. During a recent visit to the mining community, the residents complained bitterly, claiming that they are being offered poor health and education services, which are compounded by the lack of infrastructural development.
The flooding, soon as rainfall, heavy, the 1st Avenue, 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue flood. In my yard, flood. The water seep in my house.
No water, no proper road, the blackout, all through.
Also, you don't get possible water?
We get back water after 2 weeks to about 3 days now. The same problem we get into. Well, the water is coming. I'd like to get some and show you. It's brown.
What do you mean by repair? Are you talking when we repair roads? Are you talking about us filling the holes with stuff, or are we talking about relaying? Because if you're talking about repair and filling, yes, I can tell you that they've been filling the roads. But when we talk about repair roads, we talk about relaying our roads. We're not talking about just coming and patching. We don't want patchwork anymore. This region, Bartica is the central part of Region 7. Region 7 is the sole supplier of stone for road building in Guyana. We have the most atrocious roads in this country.
The hospitals, they're lacking proper doctors. The doctors that are there, they try, yes, with the knowledge that they have, but it's not good enough. We need a senior doctor that is an expert. We don't need to go to these Cuban doctors that just came back and do not even know to diagnose a patient properly. My nephew fell off a motorcycle, had tremendous head injuries, and when he went to Bartica Hospital, the doctors there, more than 2 of the doctors said it was nothing. It was just a hard knock. My nephew died.
According to the residents, as they face a clear situation of neglect, the regional chairman, Gordon Bradford, and the interim management committee are failing to represent their issues while pursuing their own personal and political agenda. They even gained the support of the president of the Ghana Women Miners Organization, Simona Brooms, who also hails from Bartica.
The biggest problem right now is the IMC. The IMC was forcefully installed upon us. I don't think that they know what they're about, and I don't even think they know what they have to do, because reading in the papers that they're saying they're a model is really a disgrace to themselves. Because if you take a look around Bartica, you would see the amount of garbage that is piled up all over the place.
Health is 0. Water is 0. Electricity, I read them all 0. Now, we had them to come in, the government come and say that the village council was the reason for underdevelopment. So they packed up and they're gone. No problem with that. So they're bringing an IMC or FCC or some kind of Cs. That really confused me. Now the IMC come on board and what are they doing? Garbage. Look at the streets. I'm going to take you to the garbage site because the garbage problem is not only in Georgetown. It is all over the country. Bartica, it is worse. Garbage are being dumped literally on the road. And people have to live under those conditions. So the garbage is one, the IMC serving no purpose, all of them looking to make money.
However, the regional chairman has denied the claims made. He told this newscast that it was his representation that led to the intervention of the Public Works Ministry executing repairs to the Bartica-Isano Road. Bradford said too that he has been in frequent contact with the Guyana Power and Light GPL, making representation on behalf of residents. Similarly, the IMC said it has been advancing the issues affecting residents. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
In the courts, a citizen from France was fined $30,000 today when he appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court charged for illegal entry into Guyana. 34-year-old Norcello Brown, an electrician, pleaded guilty to the charge, which stated that on July 3, he entered Guyana at Charity Essequibo Coast by sea and disembarked without the consent of an immigration officer. Brown told the court that upon his arrival, the immigration office was closed. According to him, he wanted to return to France, but the boat had already left, leaving no other choice than to remain in Guyana. Chief Magistrate Priya Narayan Bihari imposed the $30,000 fine or an alternative of 3 months imprisonment. Vanessa Kissoon's suspension from the People's National Congress Reform has been lifted as a result of recommendations made by the disciplinary committee. Let's find out more in this report.
Embattled PNCR MP Vanessa Kissoon is officially off the suspension bench. This was declared by the PNCR leader David Granger. Granger explained that it was a result of recommendations from the party's disciplinary committee.
Well, I'm saying that the disciplinary committee submitted its report at least by Friday. I saw it on Friday, and with effect from that date, it is assumed that the suspension would have been void.
Granger said that the committee would have met and discussed the issues surrounding Kissoon's suspension. He said that as of last Friday, Kissoon was no longer suspended.
The disciplinary committee, which was established by the Central Executive Committee, did conduct its investigation and did come to a finding which will be sent to the Central Executive Committee next week. I'm not aware of the suspension that have been lifted, but I believe one of the recommendations is from the disciplinary committee is that the suspension should be lifted until the Central Executive Committee rules otherwise.
So your suspension has been lifted in effect?
Well, the disciplinary committee has made certain recommendations, and the Central Executive Committee, I make certain decisions between meetings of the Central Executive Committee.
But have you made a decision?
I have not made such a decision, but the decision could be automatically lifted if the findings of the disciplinary committee are such that they feel that the continuation of the suspension is not justified in the circumstances.
Kissoon was suspended after she was engaged in an altercation with PNCR General Secretary Oscar Clark. However, she had challenged the decision made by the party leader, contending that it was unconstitutional. Shania Singh for the Evening News.
22-year-old Franel Holder has been crowned Miss Emancipation 2014. More in this report.
22 years old Fernelli Latoya Holder, who hailed from the east coast of Demerara, was on Saturday evening crowned Miss Emancipation 2014 by the House of Senate at a simple ceremony at Carver Lodge, Pomona Street, Georgetown. At the ceremony, the new queen said she is pleased at being a role model for her younger relatives and others who may look up to her.
I'd like to thank the organizers, Ms. Shabaki Fernandez, and franchise owner, Ms. Alexis Connolly, as well as all sponsors and supporters for believing that I am strong and capable of handling the task of being this year's queen. I intend to make my reign fruitful and prosperous through sharing my cultural enrichments with one and all. Thank you, Ise.
Public Relations Officer of the Miss Emancipation pageant, Shabaki Fernandez, said the queens for the pageant go through strict training to prepare them for their reign. During the 3-month training period, they are taught African history and social issues such as domestic violence and child abuse. She also mentioned that the participants are required to do a community life competence program, which teaches them the importance of a comprehensive approach to community building. Fernandez reflected on when the pageant was first launched in 2012 as Miss Guyana African Queen before the name changed to Miss Emancipation in 2013.
Miss Emancipation pageant was first hosted by House of Sine as the Miss Guyana African Queen in 2012. In 2013, it was hosted by House of Sine and Miss Emancipation and held as Miss Emancipation, in keeping with the theme of the month of August, Emancipation Month. Alexis Connolly is franchise owner and I, Shabaki Fernandez, Public Relations Officer. Through this event, we strive to showcase a culture which is uniquely Africa. Our queens go through months of training where they are taught African history, social issues such as domestic violence and child sexual abuse. They also do sessions on community life competence, which teaches them the importance of a comprehensive approach in community building. We encourage our queens to visit schools and empower our youth to understand the importance of having an education and networking.
The event also featured a libation ceremony to honor past Africans who have made significant contributions towards the African community. For the evening news, Jalicia Pinder.
Your regional, international, and bridge reports are next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the evening news. In the region, Barbados opposition leader Mia Mottley has called for parliamentary reforms throughout the region. Mottley told the gathering there is need for change as the same topics are being discussed at successive conferences. Mottley said unless parliamentarians recognize the need for urgent reform, particularly in the Caribbean Commonwealth departments, and treat it as a regional project, the same issues will prevail in the future. Internationally, at least 100 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli bombardment on Tuesday after bombs hit the city's major power station. A thick column of black smoke was seen rising from the power station on Tuesday, mingling with other plumes sent into the air by Israeli shelling. Officials said the death toll from the invasion had now reached 1,178, with at least 100 killed since midnight on Tuesday. In case you just joined us, you're watching the evening news. We now take a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge is expected to be closed to vehicular traffic from 5 hours on Wednesday, July 30, 2014, for a period of 1.5 hours. And the Berbice Harbour Bridge is expected to be closed from 5 hours 50 on Wednesday, July 30, 2014, for a period of 1.5 hours. Join us after the break for sports, sponsored by MacCorp. This is the evening news. Welcome back. Now for a look at sport, but first the headlines. Trinidad PM hails impact of Limacol CPL. Under 19 cricketers looking for more success in regional tournament. Anthony McCall maintains commitment to sport, and Green remains head of rugby union. Of course, this podcast comes with the kind compliments of MacCorp.
We believe that everything worth building should be built just once. But that is why we build on culture, on trust, on integrity. We exist to do more, better, faster, safer. Your success depends on the foundation it's built on. Everything we do is meant to move you forward. MacCorp, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for the details, we start off with some cricket news. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar has hailed the Limacol Caribbean Premier League as a great tourism product, not just for the island, but the region as a whole. She made a comment on Sunday while viewing the Trinidad and Tobago Red Steel St. Lucia Zouks game at the Queen's Park Oval. Here are details. During an interview with commentator Fazir Mohammed, the Prime Minister said the tourism development element cannot be ignored as the region stands to benefit tremendously. The Limacol Caribbean Premier League has attracted tourists from all parts of the globe, giving rise to the sport tourism concept that most of the territories are now embracing.
That was one of the reasons why I took the decision to retain the name TNT Red Steel, because it is part of the branding of our country, and it should, of course, brand in CPL, brand in Limacol. But for us here and in the region, this brings a great moment for branding the Caribbean, the CARICOM nations which are engaged in this. The sporting product is exceedingly important because, you know, we have promised diversification of the economy. And one of the areas that we identified for that diversification thrust has been for sport tourism. And this is a great opportunity and event.
PM went on to state that the atmosphere in Trinidad over the 3 matches was fantastic, as citizens as well as tourists have bought into the idea of franchise-based cricket in this part of the globe.
This is electrifying, and even before coming earlier today, I saw on the streets the maxis, the taxis, the red, all the people just so tremendously unified, exciting. And we want to thank CPL for bringing their games here, and of course to our players representing Trinidad and Tobago in red. I wish them all good luck, St. Lucia as well.
Going forward, the Prime Minister would no doubt be rooting for the Trinidad and Tobago Red Steel, who now lead the points table with 5 wins from 6 games, heading to the next set of matches. Closer to home, manager of the Ghana Under-19 team, David Blackstars, beating the Windward Islands in round 2 of the West Indies Cricket Board's regional Under-19 3-day tournament, has lifted the players' confidence ahead of their final round beginning tomorrow. Here's Rajiv Bisnot with the details.
After 2 rounds, the Guyanese are atop the table with 26.3 points and will play Trinidad and Tobago, who sit at the bottom of the table on 9.6 points at the GCC ground border. The host and Leeward Islands are played to a draw in the opening round, but Black says a 4-wicket win against the Windward Islands has motivated the players going into the final round.
After that yesterday, we group in their confidence in that, and we all set to go into the final round tomorrow. With the individual performance which you observe, that is good, and it sends a message to the others that they need to pick up the slot and get going also. So as to make it a full team effort, because that is what we are working towards.
Meanwhile, the Leeward Islands are in second position on 25.6 points, followed by the Windward Islands at 21.9 points, Jamaica 20.8 points, and Barbados 12.6 points. The other final round matches will see Barbados challenge the Leeward Islands at the Enmore Community Centre ground, and defending champions Jamaica oppose the Windward Islands at the Guyana National Stadium. All games start at 10 hours and admission to the venues is free.
Further afield, James Anderson and Stuart Broad both took 3 wickets as England continued to dominate India in the 3rd test. The tourists began day 3 on 25 for 1 at Southampton, but struggled to build a partnership as 6 of their batsmen were dismissed between 19 and 39. Ajinkya Rahane 54 and Rohit Sharma 28 added 78 for the 5th wicket, but both fell to Moeen Ali just before tea. Captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni, 50 not out, helped the side to 323 for 8 at the close of play, still 246 runs behind. Back on the local scene, Ansell McCall Trading today made contributions to 2 disciplines, once again demonstrating its commitment to the development of the sport industry in Guyana. Let's find out more from Tristan Joseph.
The Kennard Memorial Turf Club benefited from Ansell McCall's generosity, as the major drink conglomerate has agreed to sponsor the featured race of the club's Emancipation Horse Race Meet set for Sunday in Berbice. Some of Guyana's top horses will compete at the event for a prize of $1 million in the feature race. While Public Relations Officer for Ansell McCall, Dashni Yusuf, was pleased to be a part of the event, President of the Turf Club, Cecil Kennard, identified the importance of sponsorship.
I'm indeed very happy that they once again responded to a request to assist us, because as I've been saying over the years, no sporting activity can be successfully promoted without sponsorship. And we have a very good relationship with Ansell McCall, and I'm sure this relationship will continue.
Meanwhile, Ansell McCall Trading, under its Lucozade brand, donated a full kit of uniforms to cycling team Alanis. Manager at Ansel McCall, Sunish Michael, related that because of the up-and-coming talent in the team, Ansel McCall was pleased to partner with the team Alanis. Cyclist Paul Chuwinam was grateful for the support shown by Ansel McCall.
Thanks a lot for this opportunity from Ansel McCall to sponsor this young team, and it's a very good opportunity for a lot of other companies to help the younger cyclists, and it's a very good company sports-wise sponsoring events. So we appreciate the sponsorship from Ansel McCall.
7 events will be a part of the full schedule for the Emancipation Horse Race Meet, while Team Alanis will be in action this Sunday.
Finally, some rugby news. The Guyana Rugby Football Union, the GRFU, held its annual general meeting on Sunday last, with the incumbent president, Peter Green, returning to the helm. Immediately after being re-elected, Green said his priority would be the development of men's 15s and 7s rugby, under-19 and women's rugby, schools and youth, referees and coaches workshops, and constitutional review. John Lewis and Alvin Etwa are the 2 vice presidents, while the other executive members are Terence Grant, secretary, Roger Pereira, treasurer, Petal Adams, assistant secretary treasurer, and Eason Griffith, the public relations officer. The 3 committee members are Robin Roberts, Daniel Anderson, and Joseph Rahaman. And with that, we have come to the end of sport, which is sponsored by Marcorp. And that's a wrap as well on the evening news for today, Tuesday, July 29, 2014. Of course, you can find these and many more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in George and Environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. Of course, you can follow the Lima Call Caribbean Premier League 2014 on all these mediums. On behalf of all of us here, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.